Hey guys, Dan Nichols on, and I've got Vince Casaba. And Vince, good to have you on the show, Vince. All right, it's not even a show; it's our thing, a little interview. I do a podcast, so it's funny. I get into podcast mode. Good to have you on the show, but this is not a show. It's just I'm interviewing guys that have been exposed to George Pogacich and his punching power. And yesterday, kind of when we were trying to connect around this, you and I talked for a while, and I just want you to share a little, I think at the end of the day, you and I both know that martial arts, we talked about this, right, Vince, has lots of benefits, right? And the style that you're in particular is Systema. And you shared with me, you're like, man, it affects every part of your life. And you said you're helping doctors. Just share with us a second about that part, like how you're helping doctors be better doctors.
Oh yeah. So the Russian martial arts, the Systema that I train in now and teach is based on breathing relaxation, posture and movement. And when I go to the surgical residents at the Spectrum over here in Grand Rapids, where I live now, they're very stressed and they need to make the right decision as quickly as possible. And I teach them how to breathe and relax, tighten, relax, breathe, relax. And sometimes I feel like I'm not even doing that much. And to them, it's the world, because I'll have people come back after just one class saying, you got rid of all my headaches and my migraines and all kinds of things. Like going home, they're more relaxed and they're not just, giving their family all of the frustrations of the day. They're good people, like when they went to work. Yeah. So it's a lot of, that's one small example of how it's helped people. I've had people come back and say, you saved my life. Like they had like an allergic reaction to some citrus or something like that. And just breathing in through the nose, out through the mouth, relaxing was enough to get them to urgent care and get some, anti-inflammatories going in them so that they could breathe.
How long have you been training martial arts?
I think I started in around 1984. I'm really bad with time.
That's okay.
But I'm an artist, so I have no concept of time. So I started in like 1984-ish. And I started training Okinawan karate. I eventually, at this point, I'm a 9th degree in that. I was a 7th when I met George. And it's a kind of a funny story. I've done Ishinryu. I did a couple of forms of Aikido. I did Filipino martial arts.
I enjoyed Aikido too.
A lot. The 3 internal martial arts of China, the Tai Chi, Xingyi, Bagua, very deep and awesome martial arts. But I had a karate club in Ann Arbor, and an old black belt colleague of mine comes in. I'm going to call him Eric. Eric comes in. He's like, hey, there's this guy in Southfield, and I'm training with him like a couple times a week, and he's pushing me around with his finger, and I can't stop him, but I can't move him. He hits me at will, but when I can just, if he lets me hit him, he'll just say, hit me anywhere. I don't care. And I'll hit him as hard as I can, even side kicks to the leg and stuff like that. And he's like, he just stands there like nothing's affecting him. Come here. He's operating above my pay grade. I don't understand what he's doing. You have to help me. Come. And I was like, I'm done. I've learned almost 100 forms. And I think this will resonate with a lot of martial artists when you say, hey, you should train with George. I didn't want to learn any more techniques. Oh my Lord, I had like 100 forms. I don't want to learn like the 83 Buddha palms and the 6 angles of defense and more things I have to memorize and make this unnatural thing natural in my body. It's just, I couldn't do it. I wasn't going to do it. I'm not going. I don't care.
You didn't want to learn another art is what you're saying. Right, got it.
So I've learned so many. I was just done. I was the top of my karate game. I could fire on people at will. Nobody could hit me. It was great. I was fine. So Eric eventually keeps bugging me. And by about the 3rd time, he's like, I'm going to pick you up. I'm going to take you to see George. And I'm going to drop you off. I'm going to pay your mat fee. I'll take you back, whatever. You just got to tell me what his trick is. He says it's breathing and relaxation and posture and movement. I was like, okay, let's go. I'm open to every type of martial art. And I love martial art. I'm very enthusiastic about it. So I'm like, all right, let's go. So we go. And it's just George with a handful of students. Working out in his garage. What's that?
In his garage, yep.
Yeah, just working out in his garage. I've been there. I've worked out in my garage before too, and I know some of the best martial artists from Tai Chi or George. They don't always have like their name in lights. There's sometimes the humble guy that teaches you to stir fry. You find out 6 months later was a Tai Chi master. So I go to see George, and he was just purely excellent. His movements were refined and tremendous. And I said to myself and to him what people say to me now too, because I teach Systema. And they said, this is connecting a lot of dots for me. Like, what do you do? When they teach you a lot in Asian martial arts, but they don't teach you everything. And they don't let you ad lib and figure things out and be artistic. It's supposed to be a martial art, but it's really a martial cookie cutter. They make you do this. You have to do this. When a guy comes in this, you have to flip him. You have to grapple with him. You have to strike him. You have to. George was like, you do whatever you want. And I did the same thing. And I'm not the kind of guy that has to win a fight to know if somebody else is better than me. But I gave him a good punch, you know, put a good arm bar on him. And then he hit me. And, you know, I've been hit many times during like kumite or whatever. But it was very, very different. It was a relaxed hit that not only like goes right to your organs, but you don't see it. Usually you can see somebody start to hit you and you either are fast enough to block it or you're not. But when George or other really good Russian martial artists hit you, you don't see anything. And that's part of the power. And then he hits you, and it doesn't, I won't even say he's a good puncher. He's a great striker, because it could be the back of his hand. It could be his forearm. It could be his shoulder, elbow, whatever he wants to hit you with is going to feel like 500-pound bag of wet sand or something just slammed into you.
Well, there's no telegraphing that it's coming. This is about to hit you. And that's because there's no wind up. He can do it from any position and any angle. I mean, you could be on the ground with him and he can hit you with that. And, you know, and I know you said the Systema piece, and believe me, this is not me picking that apart. George has been after this punch since we were in 7th grade, probably maybe 9th grade. I can't remember exactly, but I knew it was early on. He's been after the ability to strike like that. So, I mean, lots of guys can be in lots of styles and not strike like that. And this isn't really necessarily, and I know you'll agree with this, and I'm not saying that to force your answer. I'm not. Tell me if you disagree. But I don't care what style it is, there are people that can hit with that kind of a power. And it doesn't have to be one particular style. It's how it's being done, right? I mean, yeah.
Yeah. No, I mean, when I met George, he was marketing himself as a Systema
instructor, right? Yep.
Russian martial arts. And we both talked about our martial arts pedigrees and stuff, which is nice as a reference point. But that's the only reason I say that. He may have.
I'm a big fan, by the way. I'm a big fan of RMA. I'm a big fan.
Oh, sure.
Yeah, I big time. I love it. Yeah.
I think if anybody gives it a fair chance, they are.
Yeah.
It's just when people come in to see somebody like George, you end up exposing your weak points. And if you have a big ego and a big dojo, and you're going to run away from that, he's going to point out to you like, oh, you know, you leave this open. I can see this. I can see that. For whatever reason, my ego's small. And I was just like, oh, he's tagging me at will. I'm not used to this. I don't want to die a paper tiger, you know, where I just would rather go back, take my lumps if I have to, and learn to connect all the dots so that I don't have all these weaknesses that George is picking apart on me. And one more thing, I mean, I don't want to say like George is brutal, but I mean, you can rip the Band-Aid off fast, or you can go slow, and he would rather go fast. But, you know, like right now I'm 54, 55, something like that. And I would come into him and I'd say, my back hurts today. Can we go slow? And he said, absolutely. My back bugs me all the time too. Yeah. It's like, we can do whatever. You know, he's not mean in any way, shape, or form.
No,
but he taught a certain way, and that's the way he teaches it. But you can get it in any way that you choose. And I think probably two things. One, I came from hardcore. Like when I learned karate, it was in Detroit. It was just always everybody was hitting everybody, and I don't shy away from pain and bruises and stuff like that. But I was engaged at the time, and I didn't want my fiance to think I was any dumber than I already am. So I would like change my shirt in the closet to put on my new clothes and come back out, because I didn't want her to see this Batman symbol of bruises, because I'm letting him just wail on my sternum until I can figure out how to absorb the punches the way he does. You know, and to me, that's just part of the learning process. And you can do that slowly or you can do it quickly, but I wanted to do it quickly. I don't mind taking my lumps. I don't care. So he was just very impressive. I was hooked from the first class. I also had the benefit of never hearing or seeing anything about Russian martial arts or Systema. So I think a lot of people see things on the interwebs and they say, oh, it looks fake or whatever. And if you saw me get hit by George, you'd say, like, why didn't you see that? I was like, well, from your angle, you can see it. Right. But from my angle, he's throwing it at an angle I can't see.
Yes.
So he's very crafty, refined. He's got great experience. And if you want to understand the concepts, the combat aspect of Systema or just martial arts, because Systema, it's really just martial arts. You should see him. I encourage everybody on the east side of Michigan. You should stop by and see him. Check him out. Yeah. He's not expensive and he's not mean.
Yeah. 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 Like you said that, and you kind of hit it. You said you can choose to go fast or slow, but you choose. You said that. And I love that because it's true. And George has told me before over the years, because we've had those conversations. And he said, he's like, yeah, he goes, you get these guys that come in here and try to take your head off. So what do they expect? I'm supposed to let it happen? It's like, if they accelerate, I've got to move to compensate or, to work with that. He said, but now he said, Dan, he goes, I don't do that anymore. I just step back and I tell him, hey man, what do you want to do here? Cause he's had to figure that out, right. As an instructor and a teacher. No doubt. Yeah. Yeah. Awesome. So that's it, man. I appreciate it. I'm just trying to get the word out, get the word heard about George and what he does and his striking power in particular. In particular, we're kind of focusing on the striking power because let's face it, that's kind of the, lots of people would love to have one kata called one knockout punch and be done with it. And that's what we're working on here. So I appreciate it, Vince. Thank you.
No, man, there's a huge thing out there right now where people are all talking about jiu-jitsu and how all fights end on the ground. And it's like, that may or may not be true. I've never seen that to be true, but I can guarantee you they start on your feet.
Yeah. You're right. So yeah. Two guys don't jump on the ground. They don't jump on the ground and say, let's start. Yeah.
Yeah. Just punch extremely well.
Yeah. Punch so extremely
fast, nobody
well.
Can see it. So hard, nobody can take it. And you're kind of done. There's no rolling around on the ground.
Yeah. Yeah, I know you're right, and with that being said, again, because I've worked with George on the ground, and that's no fun either. That's no fun either working with him on the ground. That's so.
But, I mean, everything from even just knife disarms. Well, I think my back hurts. Let's go over knife disarms.
Yeah.
35 years of martial arts. You see things where people say, it's going to be a slash from the right, a slash from the left, an overhead stab, or a straight. And then you learn those, and that's it. And then George is like, he immediately just puts the knife right on your chest. He's like, we learn from here. I was like, oh, great. Because that's the worst case scenario. They work from here out. That's not a hard workout, but you learn so much.
Yeah.
I just can't emphasize how much learning there is to be had from going to see someone with his pedigree, which he has.
Yeah, he sure does. Thank you, Vince.
Yeah, it's a pleasure. If it wasn't for George, I wouldn't have gotten into Systema. I'd probably be bored.